Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Tina Julianti and my NPM 20020100795, and here I want to submit my task about the video presentation for English and Intercultural Communication subject by Mr. and Arbain NPD. Okay, let's start. Okay, the first is, what is culture? Culture can be defined as all the ways of life, including arts, beliefs, and institutions of a population that are passed down from generation to generation. Culture has been called the way of life for an entire society. As such, it includes codes of manners, dress, language, religion, rituals, and art. In other words, culture is a set of patterns of human activity within a community or social group and the symbolic structures that give significance to such activity. Customs, laws, dress, architectural style, social standards, and traditions are all examples of cultural elements. And types of culture. There are various different types of culture which sociologists refers to. The first is consumer culture, folk culture, then high culture, and then low culture. Fifth, popular culture, and the last is mass culture. Okay, for consumer culture can be defined as a culture where social status, values, and activities are centered on the consumption, the act of buying goods or service. You see it every day in the street. Look at how many people have the new iPhone or smartwatch. Folk culture consists of local custom and beliefs that directly reflect the lives and experiences of the people, such as folk songs and stories that are handed down from one generation to the next. The main characteristic of culture, remembered by ACARAT, are that it is A for authentic, C for created by ordinary people, A for associated with active participation, R for rooted in the experiences of ordinary people, A for associated with pre-industrial societies, and T for traditional. High culture. High culture is linked to a culture which is usually expressed in an intellectual or artistic way. Examples are going to the museum, listening to opera, etc. Don't get confused with One Direction or Taylor Swift. This is more classic music than contemporary. Davies 2000 suggests that high culture is the preserved or very few in society because it involves art, literature, music, and intellectual thought, which few can create or even appreciate. Low culture incorporates popular culture and is linked to a consumption by the masses. This form of culture is mainly experienced by working class and poorer individuals. It focuses on spending money or watching shows with easy to understand language. And next is popular culture. Popular culture refers to the pattern of cultural experiences and attitudes that exist in mainstream society. This links to many other types of culture mentioned here as it incorporates perspective of each one. It is aimed at ensuring that all forms of society can access it. Therefore, it has both low and high elements of culture. And then is mass culture. Mass culture is intrinsically linked to consumer culture. The idea of mass culture is often based on Marxist theories such as Marcuse and Adorno. The media plays an active part in promoting capitalism, which indoctrinates society into being a consumer. Think about how much advertising occurs on TV. From this viewpoint, the audience become passive member of mass society, unable to think for themselves. Gideon 2008. The main characteristic of match culture are CAMPVI, C for created by commercial organizations, A for associated with industrial societies, M for manufacture, P for passive, P for produce for profit, and I for inauthentic. Tug is defined as the act of thinking about something to form ideas and opinions, or an idea or opinion produced by thinking. In other words, Tuk is viewed as the process of using your mind to consider something. It can also be the produce of that process, an idea or just the thing you are thinking about. Tuk can also refer to the organized belief of a period, individual, or group. Intercultural communication. What is intercultural in English communication? Intercultural communication refers to the communication between people from two different cultures. Intercultural communication is a symbolic, interpretive, transactional, contextual process in which people from different cultures create shared meanings. Importance. With intercultural dialogue, language is a core element in intercultural communication, as language is closely tied to one's identity, worldview, and positioning. It influences how people from different cultural backgrounds interact and perceive one another. Forms of intercultural communication. At least there are four variations of intercultural communication. The first is interracial, the second is intercultural, the third is interethnic, and the last is international. And three types of intercultural communication. Three perspectives of intercultural communication. A study on cultural and intercultural communication came up with three perspectives, which are the indigenous approach, cultural approach, and cross-cultural approach. Indigenous approach, trying to understand the meaning of different culture from Aeneas 2009, the process of passing perceive indigenous knowledge and how that is interpreted from Paul 1992. Cultural approach is similar to the indigenous approach. However, the cultural approach also focuses on the social culture context of an individual from Aeneas 2009. Cross-cultural approach focus on two or more cultures to perceive cross-cultural validity and generalizability from Aeneas 2009. And six component of intercultural communication: message, channel, feedback, context, environment, and interference. Each component influence and is influenced by culture. Is culture context, environment, message? Culture is represented in all each components every time we communicate. All communication is intercultural. Thus, intercultural education, where the emphasis is on the confrontation of first and second culture, first and second language, is an approach that emanates from the immediate environment and teaches for living in an environment that is not monoethnic, monolingual. And then is principle of intercultural communication, respectful sharing of opinions, appreciation of diversity, meaningful interaction, dialogue between equals, learning about each other, learning from one another, and social transformation. Okay, that's all material for today. Thank you for the kind attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. See you next on the next material.